Well, it was just he grew up in Hanover, New Hampshire, and when he arrived there, he was just a year old, and his brother Mark was 3, but the rest of them were much older, because when Sean was born, his oldest brother was 17, so there was a big stretch. It was like 2 families. So the 3 older ones were kind of off to high school and college, and Mark had Sean, and Sean had Mark. They were just the 2, really like 2 kids at home.
And what kind of home life was it for them growing up?
Just average, wasn't it? Just
actually, with 5 boys, it's
hectic, maybe.
It's a little, especially when you got teenagers and young ones. You've got 2 different worlds. Yeah. And our home was open to all of the friends of the older boys, so that we could come home nights and find one of their friends in our house, sleeping there, and so it was a place where everybody was welcome. And the older ones, one was at Dartmouth College, which was in town, and we'd come home and we'd have all his friends from the college all of a sudden sitting around watching the football games and stuff like that. So it was a very open home. Everybody was welcome.
Nice neighborhood. Lots of kids in the neighborhood. Kind of a dead-end circle type of a neighborhood, and they all played in the street. And he was very lucky. Nice school too. The Hanover schools were really good. Yeah, lots of sports, and he played soccer, didn't he? Sean played soccer. We can't keep track of them all.
With all of them, they all pretty much though were very close. His brothers.
Surprising.
I mean, if you could say anything you wanted to them, but you wouldn't speak about one brother. The other one would come to his defense right off. I mean, they're very close, and they are to this day.
It was surprising to have that difference in age, and yet have, as they grew up when Sean was in college, why they were all just close.
As far as Sean, in high school, he was very active in debating, and he was in a number of plays, 3 or 4 plays, I guess.
Several,
in high school.
Yeah.
And he was always a leader. He was with the represented the state of New Hampshire in the. I'm trying to think of the name.
I was trying to think too. Hugh
O'Brien.
Hugh O'Brien's
International
Youth something
Youth
or other.
Center.
Yeah, that was in the 60s, I think. No, 70s. In the 70s.
And then he then decided he would go off to college like everybody does, and he decided he wanted to go to Georgetown, which he did, and he spent 2 years at Georgetown and wanted to take courses at the University of Virginia, only to find out that they were a yearly course. So he called me to tell me to send the check to the University of Virginia next term and not to Georgetown, because he had transferred. And after Georgetown, he, however, kept a close camaraderie with people at Georgetown. And finishing in the University of Virginia undergraduate school, he went with a group from Georgetown, I think there was 12 of them, to Peru. And they lived in the poorest of poorest areas of Peru, over the other side in a town called Chimbote. And I think...
How long were they there?
He was there a year.
They were a year? I think they were there a year, yeah.
And that was the last group that went there because of the problems that developed in the Andes with the... So... But it was interesting. She knew how to get cookies to them, and...
Yeah, we sent packages. He was called the Package King. Of the 12 of them, they wanted to know how all his packages came and theirs didn't. We used to put on English books, because if you wrote anything else, they'd be stolen. So we used to Sean told us to write English books, and he got all his packages.
But we enjoyed sending them to him because the people there had never seen a Ziploc bag.
Oh, I know.
Or an elastic band, anything like that. And the kids played in the dump. And one well in the town. It was an experience that changed Sean. It really did. It really changed Sean, politically and otherwise. And then he came back, went to work went to graduate school at the University of Virginia to law school, and spent 1 year at Bosch, Baker and Bosch in Washington as an intern. And this next year he spent it at Wilkie Farr and Gallagher, where he is presently. But so, anything else you want to fill in there, Lee?
No, I can't think of anything. I think you covered it all.
He was always he was always one who was very good about going to church and everything like that. He's, to this day, he's very dedicated to his faith. When he was in high school, he also had supported a child in the...
Oh, that's right. He had a Christian children's. He had a child, yes. And we knew nothing about this. He had his checking account, and he supported one of those Christian children's fund. Yeah.
Even in high school, he was very. So he was always an outgiving person, even to this day. If anybody needs something, he'd be the first one to come in line with you. So.
And he's very funny. He really is. He's got a great sense of humor. He's always funny. I think that's being the camaraderie with the five boys. They were always clowning around, and there was all kinds of jokes and making fun of each other all the time. I remember with Jeff's, our oldest, his now wife, when she came into the family, she was just amazed at all this commotion between the five boys and all the joking and how they do. And she wasn't so surprised to see this.
Sean is one, too, that he knows what he's going to do 2 years from now.
He always knew what he was going to do.
He always. Sean would definitely tell you where he was heading, and it wouldn't be next week. It'd be 2 years from now. So it didn't surprise me when he decided to go into the political world, because he has always had that interest. He's showed that right along. And
he used to watch the news all the time when he was young. He'd always watch the news, which is kind of, the others didn't do that.
We would see Sean when he was involved at the White House on television, when he was like in Russia with the presidents, and we'd see him passing him the documents to sign and things like that. So that's how we saw Sean when he was in the White House. Well, they took religious education courses, and she also taught religious education courses. Yeah. And although I don't know if they were in your courses, were they? They weren't. So they basically they're all interested in their religion, and.
Well, it was just kind of a way of life. I think this is what we always did. We went to church every Sunday, and when they were old enough to come, they went to and Sunday school and just went from there. And it was always important to us that they go to church, and if they'd been out late Saturday night, why, we'd wake them up and say, remember, you've got to go to Mass, whether they wanted to get up or not. So that's how it's just something they always did. It was part of living, really. It was just, you eat 3 meals a day, you go to church on Sunday, and it's your routine. It's got to be a routine.
Going through the various sacraments, Sean was, as his brothers, they all look forward to confirmation and things like that. And I think it shows in his thinking. It definitely shows in his thinking. I think that it would be very hard for Sean not to be completely honest up front with like his brother Mark. He would never, ever, you asked him something that most kids would try to shun away from, Mark will tell it right to you, whether you want to hear it or not. And Sean was the same way. So I believe that their religion plays a big part in their life.